questions properly, then you won't be able to write good quality answers in a proper structured manner. So I have chosen some questions for the discussion, and through those questions I'm going to tell you what you should have done, how you should have interpreted the question, and what could be the right way to structure the answer. Now, few things that you must consider before you write any answer is that question of anthropology have the underlying demand, or you may say the spirit is there. There is a spirit. That means why the question, क्यों पूछा गया है क्वेश्चन, उसको पता करना आपका सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जिम्मेदारी है. And to understand that, I have chosen one question that many of you have misinterpreted, and that is, how can synergizing the core branches of anthropology reinvigorate the holistic spirit of the discipline? Now this question is basically the underlying demand or the spirit is that the holistic spirit is declining. And why the holistic spirit is declining? Because of the lack of synergy. That means different branches of anthropology, they are going on their own independent path. That means what? The biological anthropologists, they are basically more inclined towards public health. The socio-cultural anthropologists, they are more inclined towards maybe sociology or some other studies, say maybe gender studies. The linguistic anthropologists, they are more inclined towards linguistics, and finally archaeologists are more closer nowadays to historical studies or towards the museums and all. And because of that, this holistic spirit is being compromised. This debate was identified by many scholars, including the British anthropologist Tim Ingold and many others. So this is basically a kind of very important and interesting debate, whether anthropologists should go their narrow path or this is what the essence of anthropology is. So basically the purpose of the question was that how can synergizing the core branches, the 4 core branches, can reinvigorate the holistic spirit. So that should have been the spirit of the question. We'll come back how we can address this question later on, right? The second question that I am taking is from I think this year's. That means anthropology provides a multi-dimensional understanding of human beings by bridging the gap between science and humanities. So basically in this question, if you just look, that means anthropology is biocultural. That is the key spirit. And most importantly, other than this biocultural, it is also the combination of the positivism on one hand and interpretivism also. Now this I have taken from the 4-field branch, and this is basically, these are the 2 different ways to understand the socio-cultural anthropology. So positivism and interpretivism, both of these are basically, this idea has been borrowed from the sciences, and this idea has been, you can say, a kind of social sciences or humanities idea. So these things you need to understand. Then there has been a question, say for example, discuss the historical and cultural context that led to superseding the ethnocentrism with cultural relativism in anthropology. Now in this question also, if you just look at this question, not many of you are aware of what are the various historical factors and what are the cultural factors. See, historical factors that led to superseding of ethnocentrism with cultural relativism. So Europe started facing setbacks. So European hegemony that was questioned. Okay, and the cultural factors, basically the idea of cultural relativism originated because of the ethnographic studies. That means the functionalist scholars, the diffusionist scholars, Franz Boas, through their ethnographic work, they started looking at the native cultures and they started looking at the peculiarities or the local rationalities. That means the idea of savage, barbaric and civilization was somehow challenged, questioned. That is what the core idea behind the question. Right? So one thing that I wanted to teach you is that you must understand, you must think that how you can effectively interpret a particular question. That is one thing that you must think. Now, second part after doing this, that once you have understood a question, second thing is that you must structure. So first part is interpretation of the key demand of the question. And if you have interpreted well, the second thing comes in. That is, you must structure the answer. That means what should be the introduction, what should come in the body part, and what kind of examples you can write, and how you can conclude by connecting your answer with the contemporary studies. That is the structural part. Third, you should not leave any dimension unaddressed. And four, you must make your answer relevant. These are the four things that I just advise all of you that you should follow when you write an answer. Now let's take the first question that we were discussing. That was, the question was, how can synergizing the core branches of anthropology can reinvigorate the holistic spirit of the discipline? So introduction of that question could be, anthropology, comma, which is the holistic study of humankind over time and place. Which is the holistic study of humankind over time and place, start losing its holistic spirit. Start losing its holistic spirit because of the lack of synergy. Because of the lack of synergy between various branches of anthropology. That could be your answer. Introduction. Now in this introduction, what you have done, you have defined, you have done 2-3 things. One, you have given the definition, and plus you have introduced the demand. Basically you have told the examiner that I have understood the question and I am writing what you have asked. That you have told, you have conveyed to the examiner. Now after writing this, what you have to do, the second part, it should be that why, the second paragraph should be that why the synergy is going down, why the synergy between the branches is reducing. So reasons for reduction in synergy. So you should tell the reasons. So reasons could be, say for example, you say that over specialization can be one reason, right? And why over specialization? Maybe because of the lack of opportunities, right? So there can be 2-3 points that you can write about the reasons, and then reinvigorating the holistic spirit. Before that you can also write, what do you mean by holistic spirit or holism? And you can also write that what is the importance of holistic spirit here itself. Holistic spirit and its importance. So holistic spirit means the integrated study of all aspects of humankind together, right? Integrated study of all aspects of humankind. Why it is important? Because it can reveal all the dimensions. It can reveal all the problems also associated with humanity that we can address. After writing this, you can say reinvigoration of holistic spirit. Why? Synergizing. So you can take one example from each of the sub-branch. Say for example, you take biological anthropology first. So in biological anthropology, you can take the example of adaptation. How can you understand adaptation? So for understanding adaptation, you need to synergize the knowledge of adaptation with socio-cultural, with linguistics, as well as archaeological. Here you can talk about Ganesh Devi or Franz Boas. So snow के बारे में कितने words थे? Here socio-cultural, naturally adaptation to the cold or hot environment, it require kind of housing, kind of clothing, food and all, right? And archaeology, naturally you can take the example of Lewis Binford and others. Second, you can take a case from socio-cultural anthropology. Here you can take anything, any social institution. You can take say for example marriage or family or kinship you can take, right? So kinship you can connect, naturally it's socio-cultural, so you can connect it biological. The descent theory you can connect, language, kinship terminology, right? And we have some historical evidences also that suggest that in past what kind of kinship structures used to be there, so that can be understood, right? Then other than that, third heading could be linguistic anthropology and other branches, and there you can take language. Language is biological, language is socio-cultural, and naturally language leave its own traces. And fourth could be archaeological. So archaeology can be connected with all the four, and that way you can say. And in the concluding remark, in the conclusion, what you are going to say? In the conclusion, you are going to say that the humanity is facing complex problems which are multi-causal. Complex problems like climate change, like AI threats, and many other things. These complex threats can be handled by the holistic approach, or you can say 360-degree approach. So in future, anthropology's significance is going to increase. That's how you can write this answer. Now, this is one typical question that you can take. Now, other than that, what I would like to tell is that you should use graphics as much as you can to effectively write your answers. Now, let's take say another question, that is animism and deep ecology. That question was asked, I think 3-4 years back. Both of these, animism and deep ecology, they are the philosophies connected with nature, philosophies connected with sustainable living. They are philosophies connected with nature or sustainable living. Now, basically, this could be your introduction also, right? After that, you can define both of them. What do you mean by animism, right? It's one or two features. Then you define what do you mean by deep ecology. So deep ecology is a modern environmental philosophy that says every component of ecosystem, whether organic or inorganic, has its own inherent value. That philosophy was basically first suggested by Arne Naess, and it became an environmental movement, right? After doing this, you can simply connect the two, the animism and deep ecology. How you can connect? So animism says everything possesses soul, whether it is living or non-living, they possess soul. Then what deep ecology says? Deep ecology says that everything, every part of ecosystem have inherent value in itself. And here you can write deep ecology. Now, deep ecology says that every component of ecosystem has inherent value in itself, right? Whether it is living, means biotic, or it is abiotic, both has its own inherent value. Don't you see there is some connection between an animism on one hand and deep ecology on the other hand? So what you did, here you have drawn this beautiful diagram, and through this diagram you have conveyed your entire idea that how this traditional belief system, or you can say traditional knowledge system, is connected with the modern knowledge system. That means the modern environmental philosophies, they derive their inspiration from the traditional philosophies. That's the question that you have taken here, and that is a beautiful diagram that you could draw, and you can fetch extra marks also. Now after writing this, you can take some examples from contemporary environmental movements also. So one example can be the protest by Dongaria Kond community against the expansion of Vedanta bauxite mines in Niyamgiri Hills. So basically their expansion, Vedanta's or POSCO's expansion, was basically challenged by Dongaria Kond people. Now Dongaria Kond people challenged it because they believe that their god, Niyam Raja, live in Niyamgiri Hills. So their belief is that their god, the god's soul live in Niyamgiri Hills. So they were protesting against this. Now what happened? Their protest was supported by environmentalists. So basically this is their traditional knowledge system, Dongaria Kond's traditional knowledge system, and it was supported by whom? Environmentalists, who see that every component of ecosystem has its own inherent value. That means biodiversity has its inherent value, these rocks, these mountains have inherent value. The value is not just from the human lens or anthropocentric lens. That is the question here the UPSC was asking. The spirit behind this question, I believe you could have fathomed now that why UPSC is asking. So UPSC basically wanted to see whether you can see anthropology, that is a bridge between the traditional knowledge system and modern knowledge system or not. So anthropology is a bridge between traditional knowledge system and modern knowledge system that you can use as a conclusion. So this is what I have to discuss for today. I will keep on coming for such kind of insightful discussions. Thank you for watching. All the very best. God bless you.